All right, today we are diving deep into some of the most fascinating and, let's be honest, sometimes confusing parts of meditation. We're talking about those powerful, strange, and even deceptive experiences that can pop up when your mind finally starts to get quiet.
Because, the path isn't always just calm and serene. For a lot of people, when the concentration really deepens, things can get, weird. You might see things, you might hear things, you might feel these overwhelming states of bliss. So what exactly are these experiences? Are they signs of progress, or are they just a dangerous distraction?
You can think of it like exploring a treacherous new terrain. Once that constant chatter in your head finally settles down, this whole new landscape can just appear out of nowhere. And yeah, these unexpected experiences can absolutely be signs you're on the right track, but they're also potential traps if you don't have a map to navigate them.
So one of the first major landmarks you might encounter in this terrain are what you could call phantoms. In meditation traditions, they have a name for them, Uggaha nimittas. It translates to something like learning signs or learning images, and for many people, they are one of the first big challenges you run into.
A nimitta is basically any image, whether it's something you see with your mind's eye or something that's purely a mental concept that just pops up while you're meditating. The key word here is deceptive. These images can feel so incredibly real that it's easy to lose your focus, or worse, to start believing that a hallucination is some kind of profound truth.
And these experiences tend to fall into two main categories. On one hand, you have sensation images, so actually seeing people or colors, hearing voices, even feeling like your body is suddenly huge or tiny. Then, on the other hand, there are thought images. This is a little more subtle. It's when your mind is really still and an answer to a question you've been pondering just appears. A piece of knowledge just pops into your head without you consciously thinking about it.
And wow, this quote just perfectly illustrates the problem. These images are byproducts of your mind. They're side effects. They might be based on something real, they might be totally false, maybe a mix of both. But just like a shadow, they are not the thing itself. Mistaking that shadow for the person, that's the fundamental mistake.
So what do you do when this happens? Well, the guidance is actually very clear. First, you try to take control. Don't let the image push you around, you push it around. Can you make it bigger, smaller, change its color? Doing this proves that you're the one in charge. If you can't control it, the next step is even simpler. Just ignore it, completely. And bring your focus right back to your anchor, which is usually the breath. The goal isn't to go exploring the illusion, it's to get back to reality.
Now things get even more interesting as we move to the next level of challenge. Beyond these simple images, we run into what are called the traps, or the corruptions of insight. And these are way more subtle, way more seductive. Because unlike a scary vision, these experiences often feel incredibly good.
See, the thing is, these corruptions aren't bad experiences at all. We're talking intense states of bliss, deep serenity, or this feeling of uncanny knowledge. The danger isn't the experience itself, it's how seductive it is. A meditator can get so swept up in it that they become convinced that this feeling, right here, is the final goal, that they've made.
And just look at the variety of them. There are 10 classic corruptions, and they range from seeing brilliant lights to feeling this overwhelming rapture or pleasure. You might suddenly feel like you have uncanny knowledge, like you know things you couldn't possibly know. Or you might feel a serenity so deep you never want it to end. Each one is a beautiful state, but it's also a potential dead end if you start clinging to it.
This quote just nails it. The danger is mistaking a powerful but totally temporary mental state for the final destination. You become so in love with the feeling that you've basically just swallowed your mood down whole. You get attached to it, and your progress just stops.
Okay, so we've got these phantom images, and we've got these seductive traps. How in the world do we deal with them? Well, it turns out there's a single key that unlocks both problems, and it's all about finding what's called the middle path.
Whenever one of these experiences comes up, the mind usually reacts in one of two ways. The first is indulgence. You love that blissful feeling or that cool vision, and you grab onto it, you cling to it. The second is the opposite, aversion. You get a scary image or a distracting thought, you hate it, and you try to push it away. But both of these reactions, liking and disliking, are traps.
And that brings us to the correct path, making the mind neutral. Don't approve, don't disapprove, don't cling to it, don't push it away. You simply observe whatever is happening, the image, the bliss, the weird knowledge, without getting sucked into the drama. You just note that it's there, and you maintain your balance.
And this whole principle of neutrality, it really points to the ultimate goal of the practice. It's about a radical reframing of what we're even trying to do here.
The destination, it turns out, is not what most people think it is.
This is such a profound idea, right? The goal isn't to collect a bunch of true visions and get rid of the false ones. It's to transcend that entire way of thinking. You have to be willing to let go of everything, your knowledge, your ignorance, your very ideas of what's true and what's false, to find what's waiting beyond all of that mental noise.
So what's the big takeaway here? All of these powerful experiences, the nimittas and the corruptions, they are ultimately just signposts on the path. They're good science. They show that your concentration is getting deeper, but they are not the destination. The real work is to see the signpost, acknowledge it without getting distracted, and just keep walking.
And that really leaves us with a final thought to chew on. Maybe the real journey of meditation isn't about finding some final, absolute truth in a vision or a state of bliss. Maybe the real freedom comes from transcending the very need to find one in the first place.